Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear friends. Looking around this room, just full of people who've stood with me and great memories. Thank you all so much for coming here on really short notice. It matters a lot to me. Thank you, Hadassah, for that characteristically Hadassah introduction. And thank you for sticking with me throughout this. You know, I was thinking that about a year into the Senate service, with all the back and forth travel, and it's not easy on the spouses. And Hadassah said to me, Joey, how long are you going to stay in the Senate? And I said, sweetheart, I want to make you a promise today. I promise you that when Regis leaves television, I'll leave the Senate. And here we are. Right? We wish our friend and neighbor from town next door, Greenwich, Regis Philbin, great years ahead, and maybe he and I will be hanging out together a little more now. It was 23 years ago, in February of 1988, on a wintry day in Hartford, that I announced that I would be a candidate for the United States Senate. Standing with me as I began that long-shot campaign were Hadassah, who was pregnant, and our three children, Matt, Becca, and Ethan. Today, Matt, Becca, and Ethan are here again. This time, I'm happy to say with their spouses, Elizabeth, Jacob, and Ariella. Jacob may have just left on child duty. These three couples are now the proud parents of their own children, 10 children, 6 of whom are here today. Tennessee, in order of age. Tennessee is number 1, Aiden, Yitz, Maddie, Yoav, and in the hallway, Camilla. Our youngest child, Hani, who was born a month after I announced for the Senate in 1988, is here with her husband, Daniel, and as you can see, she's now pregnant. Next month, with God's help, Hani will give birth to their first child, our 11th grandchild. Talk about the circle of life. So as I look back to 1988, I know what a lucky guy I am. Privileged for the years since then to be a United States Senator, and blessed in the years since then to have this miraculously growing family. And first of all, and most of all, I want to thank Hadassah and each of our children and grandchildren for the love, support, and inspiration that they bring to every day of my life, including this special day. There is a personal reason why I wanted to make this announcement at this hotel, and it too involves a life circle. During the first 8 years of my life, my father, mother, then one sister, though the other sister, Ellen, is here, and I lived in a cold water flat on the second floor of my grandmother's house at 42 Hawthorne Street, right here in Stamford, Connecticut. That house and the rest of the street was demolished in the early 60s for urban redevelopment, but it was located right about where this Marriott Hotel is today. As I think about the journey that I've traveled from my childhood home to this day, I can't help but also think about my 4 grandparents and the journey they traveled more than a century ago as immigrants to this country. They came to America seeking freedom, and they found it. They came to America hoping for opportunities, and they got them. But even they could not have dreamed that their grandson would end up a United States Senator and, incidentally, a barrier-breaking candidate for Vice President of the United States. But that is America. For the extraordinary opportunities to serve our state and country that I've had, I'm personally grateful to the voters of Connecticut, whom I can never thank enough. But I've tried to thank them, to thank you, by working hard to get good things done for you, our state, and our country. And I will tell you that as I look back, some of the most satisfying moments of service that I've had are the ones that usually don't get any public attention. When my great staff and I have been able to provide support to one of you, a constituent, in a moment of need, whether it was protecting your family from losing your home to foreclosure, or helping the parents of a sick child get the health care they needed, or ensuring that a World War II veteran finally received the medals and recognition he was due for his service decades before. Those were moments of great satisfaction. I'm also grateful, of course, for what I've had the opportunity to accomplish in the Senate itself. What I've been able to do, for instance, to protect our environment, which has been a lifelong priority for me. Leading fights against air and water pollution, working hard to build coalitions to do something about climate change, cleaning up Long Island Sound, protecting the Connecticut River, and creating Connecticut's first and only national park site, Weir Farm. I'm also proud of what I've been able to do for Connecticut businesses, helping them to keep and add jobs in our state, particularly in our defense industries, and to work with a lot of other people on that thrilling day that we saved submarine base New London. Thank you. And I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had to keep our country and people safe in a dangerous world. As a member, now a senior member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, supporting the best ever troops in the best military in the world and providing them with the best equipment we possibly could. In the years since the terrorist attack on America on 9/11/01, as chairman or ranking member of the Senate's Homeland Security Committee, I've been privileged to be at the center of every congressional effort to strengthen our homeland defenses, including the creation of the Department of Homeland Security and the enactment of the recommendations of the 9/11 Commission, which together are the most sweeping reforms of our national security organization since the end of World War II. I'm also proud of the opportunity I've had to work across party lines in support of the strong bipartisan American foreign and defense policies carried out by the 4 presidents under whom I've been privileged to serve: Presidents Bush, Clinton, Bush, and Obama, which included policies that ousted the invading Iraqi military from Kuwait, ended the genocide of Muslims in the Balkans, and liberated Iraq, Afghanistan, and the world from brutally repressive anti-American dictatorships. And I'm proud of the work that I've done to make the promise of equal opportunity and justice under the law more real for all Americans, including, particularly in my time of service, African Americans, women, and gay and lesbian Americans. Along the way, I have not always fit comfortably into conventional political boxes. Maybe you've noticed that. Democrat, Republican, liberal, or conservative, because I've always thought that my first responsibility is not to serve a political party, but to serve my constituents, my state, and my country, and then to work across party lines to make sure good things get done for them. Whatever the partisan or policy differences that divide us, they're much less important than the shared values and dreams that unite us and that require us to work together to make progress for all. To me, that is what public service and leadership is all about. My interest in public service was inspired by President John F. Kennedy, who coincidentally 50 years ago tomorrow, in his inaugural address, asked us to ask ourselves what we could do for our country and challenged us to bear any burden to assure the survival and success of liberty. The politics of President Kennedy, patriotic service to country, support of civil rights and social justice, pro-growth economic and tax policies, and a strong national defense are still my politics. So maybe that means that JFK wouldn't fit neatly into any of today's partisan political boxes either. One thing that has not changed over the years is my love for America. We are a unique nation with a unique mission to secure the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that are God's endowment to every person. To a remarkable degree, succeeding generations of Americans have advanced that mission at home and abroad. The truth is that no other nation in history can match our ideals and our accomplishments. I know that we've gone through tough times recently, but I could not be more confident about our future. So don't let anyone convince you that America's best days are over. Believe with me that America's best days are ahead of us. For the fact is that we, the American people, have repeatedly come together and done what others said we could not do, and we will do so again and again in the future. Now I want to talk to you about my future. In 2 years, I will complete my 4th term in the United States Senate. And as you know, I've been thinking a lot and talking with family and friends about whether I should seek a 5th term. Now I'd like to tell you, though it probably won't be a surprise, what I've decided and then why. I have decided that it's time to turn the page to a new chapter. And so I will not be a candidate for re-election to a 5th term in the United States Senate in 2012. That was not an easy decision for me to make because I've loved serving in the Senate and I feel good about what I've accomplished. But I know that it is the right decision. And I must say, having made it, I'm excited about beginning a new chapter of life with new opportunities. I know that some people have said that if I ran for re-election, it would be a difficult campaign for me. So what else is new? It probably would be a difficult campaign for me, but I've run many difficult campaigns before. From my first one in 1970 against the incumbent Democratic State Senate Majority Leader, to my 1988 campaign against the incumbent Republican U.S. Senator, to my campaign for re-election in 2006 to the Senate at the height of the controversy over the Iraq War. In all 3 of those elections, most observers and pollsters thought I would not win. But with an awful lot of help from a lot of independents, Democrats, and Republicans, including many of you here today, in each case I did win. I have never shied from a good fight, and I never will. So the reason I've decided not to run for re-election in 2012 is best expressed in the wise words from Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. At the end of this term, I will have served 24 years in the U.S. Senate and 40 years in elective office. By my count, I've run at least 15 full-fledged campaigns, and that's just in Connecticut, not counting the national campaigns I was involved in. So, for me, it is time for another season and another purpose under heaven. I do not intend today to be the end of my career in public service. Having made this decision not to run enables me to spend the next 2 years in the Senate devoting the full measure of my energy and attention to getting things done for Connecticut and our country. I will keep doing everything in my power to build strong bridges across party lines, to keep our country safe, to win the wars we are in, and to make sure America's leadership on the world stage is principled and strong. I'll keep doing everything I can to get our economy moving forward and put our national debt under control, to combat climate change and end our dependence on foreign oil, and to reform our immigration laws. And when my Senate chapter draws to a close in 2013, I look forward to new opportunities that will allow me to continue to serve our country and to stay engaged and involved in the causes that I've spent my career working on and that I care so much about. I go forward with a tremendous sense of gratitude for the opportunities that I've been blessed with to make a difference. As it says in Psalm 13, I will sing to the Lord, for he has treated me so kindly. And this morning I want to sing also to everyone, including every one of you in this room, who has supported and sustained me over the years, beginning with my family, my parents of blessed memory, Henry and Marcia Lieberman, my wife Hadassah, who's been such a steadfast soulmate and life partner, our children, grandchildren, siblings, and extended family, all the people who volunteered in my campaigns and all the voters, first in New Haven and West Haven, and then throughout the state, who elected me to 5 terms in the state Senate, 2 terms as Attorney General, and 4 terms as a United States Senator. All the able and honorable public servants I've worked with, I want to thank, and the gifted and devoted people who have served with me as staff and who are exemplified here today by 2 people. My Chief of Staff and valued counselor, Clarine Nardi-Riddle, who began work with me in 1978, and Sherry Brown, my State Director and undefeated campaign manager, who started work with me in 1980. I do want to make clear that both Clarine and Sherry were hardly of voting age when they began with me. This is a day when it's natural that I step back and try to take a broader perspective on what's happening here and all the blessings that I've had. And I came back to one of my favorite metaphors for the American spirit, which comes from the great American novel written right here in Connecticut by Mark Twain, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. In that book, Huck and Jim ride the raft along the big river that has always, to me, represented American history. In one sense, most obviously by the way they looked, Huck and Jim could not be more different. But in another deeper sense, Huck and Jim were both Americans, unified by a common humanity and sharing a common national destiny as they traveled down the river. So every time Huck and Jim come to a bend in the river, though they do not know and cannot see what lies on the other side of the bend, they are never fearful or pessimistic. They are always excited, confident, and optimistic. That, to me, is the spirit that has always inspired Americans and propelled us forward together. It is the spirit I saw as a young man in the early 60s in the Civil Rights Movement in Mississippi, where white and black heroes refused to accept the injustice of racial segregation. It is the spirit that I've seen in our men and women in uniform, heroes who are serving in Afghanistan and Iraq today for a cause greater than themselves, protecting and advancing freedom. And it is most powerfully the spirit I've seen in the wounded heroes I visited at Walter Reed, who amazingly want nothing more than to go back to the battlefield to rejoin their brothers and sisters in arms. It's the spirit that every day inspires all our American heroes, our first responders and educators, our entrepreneurs and innovators, our citizen activists and religious leaders. And it's the spirit that inspires hundreds of millions of seemingly ordinary Americans, the unsung heroes who work hard and play by the rules every day, driven by a dream, inspired to imagine a tomorrow that is better than today for themselves, most importantly for their children, for our country and our world. That is the spirit that has defined the American people for 235 years now, and that I know will continue to make us the greatest nation in the world. And that is, my friends, the spirit that fills me today. Thank you very much. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.